Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to film today's video because it's the first fall makeup look I'm doing here on my channel. And I feel like I've been waiting for this for months. I'm kind of just done with summer. I'm ready to get into the dramatic bold looks, the vampy deep colors, and I'm just ready for fall and winter. So I'm really excited to show you today's look. It is going to be a deep cranberry smoky eye, and I am playing with a new eyeshadow palette that I have created. It is coming out in November. So this video is not the reveal of the palette. I don't want to show you the entire thing just because it's not out yet and it's a little premature, but I will do a whole dedicated video walking you through all the shades. But it's magnetic, so I popped out the shades that I'm going to be using, and I will just work with those and kind of give you a preview of a few of the shades in the palette. I've got some other new products here that I want to play with, so let's just get into it. The first thing that we're going to do is go in with foundation. I'm going to use my Arizona Woke Up Like This, and I'm just gonna take a couple pumps on the back of my hand. You guys, I'm done. Like, that's all I have left. This is like the end of this bottle, and I've been trying to squeeze out as much as I can from here, but we're done. So if that doesn't show you how much I love this, this is like my fourth bottle that I've gone through since summer. So it's my favorite, I'm obsessed with it. So I'm just gonna take my damp beauty sponge and pounce it into my skin. This weekend was so fun and so action-packed. I was in LA with my friends, and I went to the Veuve Clicquot Polo Classic, which is a really fun event at Will Rogers State Park. So it was like really nice weather and just a really great day outside. We drank champagne. And then I went to one of my best friends, Sivan's house. She just had a baby. And it is so surreal because a year ago, we were at my wedding in Italy and she wasn't pregnant, and we were actually on Capri in Italy on the Amalfi Coast. We were having a big party on Capri, and she just named her baby Capri. So I went to meet her. She's just a week old. My husband and I went and spent the afternoon with them, and I always feel this way when I see babies, but it's just still crazy to me how tiny they are and how tiny everything on their body is, their little fingers, their little hands. So it just blows my mind, and it was the most special afternoon. I was holding back tears, trying to be a normal, not freak, obsessed auntie, but I was just like so emotional when I saw her. So that was really special. And we just got back last night from our weekend up there, and then I'm leaving for New York in the morning. So I thought that today I would sit down and unpack my makeup, repack everything, organize, and film a tutorial for you guys while I'm kind of sitting here playing with my makeup. So now we've got sort of all of our foundation in an even layer over the skin, and it's looking really nice. So I think I'll just leave it there. I'm really happy with the coverage. I did get a little bit of sun this weekend, and I feel like whenever I get some sun, I always need a little bit less coverage because it's almost like the tan evens out my skin. So I'm very happy that I had some time in the sun. And then I do want to do some cream contouring today. So I'm gonna go in with heat. I'm just taking one pump on the back of my hand, and I'm just gonna take a little, I do have a clean duo fiber. I'm just gonna take this little duo fiber brush and just take a little bit and kind of buff off the excess. You don't want to go in too heavy because it can be hard to blend out if you put a super dark shade in a thick layer on your skin and then you're trying to blend out a ton of foundation and then you've just darkened up your entire face. So the way to keep it super focused and in the contour and bronzing areas that you want is to just go in lightly with a small brush like this to precisely place it in those areas that you want the contour, and that way you'll be able to blend it out without spreading it all over your face and essentially just altering the entire color of your skin. So I'm just gonna go in on those high points of my forehead, the hollows of my cheeks, sort of the sides of my nose, underneath the tip of my nose. You want to be really light here because the nose can be very difficult because it is such a small area, and once you start to blend it out, if you do take it too far into the center or to the sides, it will look just really muddy. So you can correct it later with concealer, which I'll show you how to do if that does happen, but it's always just nice to go in very lightly on the nose. Underneath the lip. And then we're going to take our damp beauty sponge and blend that out. always make sure that you're pressing your foundation and any sort of cream contouring into your hairline, because if you don't take it into the hairline, there's gonna be a clear delineation between your makeup and your scalp skin, which is always very fair because that's not an area that gets sun. So just make sure you're sort of buffing any excess into the hairline so that it just kind of blends and you don't have a harsh line stopping where your makeup ends. Okay, so now that we've got that blended out, we're gonna go in with our concealer. And the concealer that I'm using today is something that I can't tell you guys about yet, but any concealer that you love, that's your favorite, you're just gonna want to make sure you don't go too hard over the areas where we just did that cream contour, otherwise you completely defeat the purpose. So now we're gonna go in with concealer, and I'm gonna use something I'm working on, so I can't tell you guys about it, but go in with whatever concealer you guys love, whatever's your favorite. And you just wanna be careful not to apply too much so that when we blend it out, we don't blend it onto the areas we just spent time cream contouring. You wanna keep it focused in the center of your face to bring light and dimension back into those highlight areas without bleeding them into the contour areas. So I'm just gonna go in the center of the forehead, down the bridge of my nose, onto the chin, and see if you had overdone your contour on your nose, you can always lighten it back up down the center, and you can even take it on the sides to reverse contour and carve back out those areas if it's spread too far. So that's always just a great way to fix that if that does happen. Onto the sides of the nose, and then we'll also take it under the eyes. And I'm even gonna take some on my eyelids just to prime a little bit. And then we're gonna blend everything out with our damp beauty sponge. Okay, so now we wanna set everything in place, and I'm gonna go in with Seal the Deal brightening under my eyes just to give a little bit more light and kind of that youthful effect under the eyes to sort of blur out any shadows that I have left. So I am just going to shake that up and put some in the cap, and then I'm just gonna dip my damp beauty sponge. Well, first I'm gonna make sure that I have no creasing under the eyes. You wanna set your eyes immediately, because if you don't, they'll crease, and then if you set those creases, it's going to stay there all day. And then I'm just gonna press that under the eyes and sort of pounce it out. I'm not really baking because we are gonna go in with some deeper shadows, so I'm going to add a bunch of translucent powder under my eyes when we do that to catch the fallout. So I don't wanna bake now and then add powder later, because that's just too much powder. So right now, I'm just pressing it in and blending it out. And then I'm gonna go onto the eyelids and just make sure that there's no creasing there from the concealer that we put, and I'm going to also add powder there. And this is really important if you have any sort of wet base like a concealer or primer on your eyelid, because your powder shadows will stick and cling and not blend properly if you don't have a powder base laid down. So this is a really important step in making sure that your eyeshadow application blends seamlessly. I just realized I hadn't blent out that heat that I put under my lip, and I've actually done that before where I have cream contour under my lip and I go out in public and then like finish all my makeup and don't see it because it's kind of like an obscure hidden area, and then before I know it, I look in a mirror or somebody tells me I have this huge like brown line underneath my lip, and it's mortifying. So don't do that. Make sure that you always blend that out. It's hard to see and it's easy to forget that you put it there. And I think I'm actually gonna take brightening down the center of my face today a little bit. I usually do classic, but I'm liking how brightening's looking right now, so I'm gonna keep with it. I'm gonna keep going with it. Okay, so now that we've kind of got this much brighter effect from the brightening powder, I'm gonna go in on the rest of my face with a big fluffy brush with Classic. And that's just gonna kind of set the rest of my skin where I don't need as much of a brightening effect. So I'm going to take this Hakuhodo B104 brush. I love this brush. I love Hakuhodo brushes in general. They are very pricey. I had a really hard time splurging on my first Hakuhodo brushes because I couldn't justify spending what you would spend on a set for one brush, but they're beautifully made Japanese brushes. You will keep them forever. It's like an investment. It's not like a disposable brush that you're gonna use for a year and then like the ferrule's gonna come off or the bristles are gonna shed. It stays so soft and so luxurious. So Hakuhodo brushes are beautiful if you are looking to invest in great brushes that you'll keep forever. I highly recommend them. So I'm just gonna take some Classic in the lid of the cap of my powder, and then I'm just gonna brush it on the rest of my skin. Okay, and now that the rest of the face is set, I just wanna warm things up around the perimeter. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit of golden. So I'm just gonna dip my brush into the powder, press it into the cap, and then I dust off the excess. And then I'm just gonna kind of swirl it around the perimeter of my skin to help bring some warmth back in. Okay, so I'm really liking how the skin is looking right now. So I think we're gonna move on to the eyes, and then we'll come back and finish up with blush and highlight and all of that stuff. So I will go and grab my shadows and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're gonna go in with our shadows, and we are gonna do sort of darker colors today and a deep cranberry smoky eye. And most eyeshadows do have fallout, so to protect yourself from having to redo all of your face makeup or go back in and clean up when sometimes it's really difficult to do, I like to just put a lot of translucent powder under my eyes to catch the fallout, and then I can just dust it all away. So we're gonna go ahead, it's kind of like a guard. So we're gonna go ahead and just grab some translucent powder. And this is why I didn't want to bake under the eyes initially, because we're adding more powder and I just didn't feel like I needed so many layers of powder under my eyes. So I like to focus it especially in this area on the outer V where I'm going in with a lot of the deeper shades, but you really want to put it all under your eyes. So this looks like a lot of powder, and it is a lot of powder, but it is really, really helpful when you're done and all of that eyeshadow fallout just comes right off. I've had many times where I've ruined my makeup because I've had powder eyeshadow fall down, and whether it's like a black or a deep shade like a dark purple or something, and then I dust it away and it just looks like a big bruise and it just lingers and it's smeared into my skin, and I basically have to start over. So I always make sure I do this if I'm doing my face makeup first and working with darker colors, just to make sure. So now that we've got that there, I am going to go in with a base color. And all of the shadows that I'm using today are from my eyeshadow palette coming out November 1st. So I will do a whole dedicated video telling you all about it and showing you every single shade and walking you through each row. But today I'm just gonna give you a little sneak peek because it's not quite out yet, so I don't want to share it too soon and have you guys not be able to get it. So the first shade that I'm going in with is this matte cream shade, and I always love going in with a shade like this first, just to cancel out any color from veins or darkness on the eyelid, and just have a clear, clean base for all the shadows to really pop on top of that I'm gonna put on after. So let me get a little mirror. So I'm just gonna put that all over the lid. And it really helps just leave a blank canvas on the eyelid, canceling out any discoloration that still remains. And it also really helps the eyeshadows to blend. Okay. And now I'm gonna go in with my transition shade. You guys know I always like to use a transition shade. This just really helps all the eyeshadows blend up into something so that it's not just a harsh stop between each color. So transition shade is a really helpful thing to start with in any eye look. And I always like to go in with a shade like this that's a couple shades deeper than my skin tone, has a little bit of warmth to it. And even if I'm doing a cool tone look, I just like having a little bit of warmth running through my crease. I feel like it really helps my eyes look open and awake and adds that dimension that that can really look beautiful with an eye look when you're layering different tones and shades of shadows. I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of that on a fluffy brush, and I'm just going to work that into my crease. Okay, so now that we've got our base shade and our transition shade, we're gonna start playing with some color. So today's look is gonna be a cranberry smoky eye, and I'm super excited about this. I don't know about you guys, but this year, more than any other year, I've been so ready for fall and holiday to come back. Like, I have just been so excited for the weather to cool down, to wear my sweaters again, and have cold, cozy nights, and I'm just so ready for this. So all the deep tones that come back in makeup are just making me so happy. So I'm ready to play with them. I am going to do a sort of baby pink shade to start in the crease. So I'm gonna go in with this shade in the crease, which is just sort of a mauvey baby pink. And I think it's really beautiful to layer different tones of shadows. So when we're going in with the deeper cranberry later, it's nice to have a few degrees lighter and then you build upon itself. So I'm gonna take this Smith 235 brush and I'm just going to dip into that. And place that into the crease, a little bit more low and concentrated and focused than we did with that transition shade where we kind of just blew it out everywhere. I'm focusing this on the outer V and then I'm dragging the excess into the inner corner. Okay, now that we have that shade laid down, I'm going to go in with this beautiful like magenta color that is so stunning. I love this color. This might be one of my favorite colors in the palette. I just love how jewel toned it is without being too dark, and it just kind of makes me feel happy. It's like a happy color for me. It's a really beautiful pinky wine with a little bit of a purple undertone to it. So I'm going to take this Sigma Blending E35 brush, and I'm going to go in with that right over where we just placed that lighter pink shade, but a little bit more bold in the outer V. So I'm gonna really place it in the outer V and then blend it out. I'm gonna zoom you guys in a little bit so you can see. So I'm stamping this in, and you can see because we've prepped the eyes with so many other shadows, we haven't even blended yet, but they kind of blend themselves when you prep the eyes properly and have enough other lighter shadows underneath them for them to blend into. And then I'm gonna go back in with that Smith brush that we placed that lighter pink on and just kind of blend those shades together. Okay, now we're going in with the deepest shade, and this one is a really gorgeous dark burgundy shadow. I don't know why sometimes my camera's not focusing. It's a really gorgeous dark burgundy shadow, and it really gives me fall vibes. I'm gonna put this all over the lid because it's got that gorgeous smoky, plummy tone to it that I think is perfect for holiday, fall, and just any sort of dramatic look where you want to have a jewel tone versus like a black smoky eye or a brown smoky eye, just something a little bit more approachable. I find plums and purples to be extremely flattering on most skin tones and eye colors. Okay, so I'm gonna go back in with that Sigma E25 blending brush, and I'm going to take that deep burgundy plummy shadow, that cranberry, and I am going to tap off the excess because this is a darker shade, so you want to limit fallout if you can, and just stamp that all over the lid, meeting up with those other two pinky shadows we've already laid down. Okay. So So now that we've got that all over the lid, we don't just want to leave it like that. You always want to blend out the edges, especially when you stamp a color all over the lid that's deeper. You need it to blend in a seamless gradient into those other shadows. So I'm gonna go back in with that Smith 235 brush that I had that first light pink shade on, and I'm going to mix this magenta shade with the light pink shade. And I'm just going to work that right where the deep shade meets those other two shades to help give it something to seamlessly blend into. Okay, and now I'm gonna take a clean MAC 217 brush and just go over everything to make sure that it's all blended together and goes into the brow bone with no harsh lines. Okay, so I'm loving the way that this is looking. It is so nice and smoky, but in a really bright way. It's not like a heavy, deep, dark, smoky eye with blacks and browns and all those kind of gray charcoal shades. It's got this really beautiful jewel tone pinky effect to it that I just love. And this is why I love playing with fall tones on the eyes this time of year, because the jewel tones just have such a brighter effect and an eye-opening effect, and I find it just to be so beautiful. So now I'm gonna go in with this super foiled metallic shade on the center of the lid, and this just always really helps bring light back into the eyes after doing a heavy color all over the lid. Whenever you go in with a deep color all over the lid, it's just really nice to draw attention back into the eyes versus, you know, getting that heavy look. So I'm just going to take it on my finger here and place it on the center of my lid. And you can wet your finger. I'm not gonna do that because I don't want this to be super, super obvious. I just sort of want to run it through the center of the lid like that in a very subtle way and blend out those edges with my finger to just add light right in that center, that pop of metallic. And I find doing this with my finger always works best. Shimmery shadows have the best payoff when they're pressed into the lid versus going in with a brush. A lot of times the brush can't pick up the shimmer the way that your finger can, and the warmth of your skin really presses it in to give that highest payoff that shimmers can have. Okay, and then if you need to, you can go out and blend where the shimmer is and just kind of blend out some edges to make sure that there's no harsh lines. So as you can see, it's really subtle, but it just kind of adds more light back into the eyes. Sometimes doing an all over dark lid color can be very heavy and can kind of drag the eyes down. And so popping a metallic or shimmer with a lightening effect in the center of the lid can just really help open the eyes back up and keep the look from being too dark. So now we're gonna go ahead and do liner, and I'm gonna go in with a liquid liner. I thought about doing a wing today, but I think that I'm gonna keep this a little bit more rounded. So I just wanna do a regular liner, but I think I will go in with a liquid if I can find one. I feel like since I've been traveling, my makeup is all over the place and I cannot find anything. And so like, I'll reach for my liner or this or that, and it's like in this suitcase, or it's in that suitcase from the trip before that. And so now I just wanna get everything together today and organized, and that's basically my whole task and goal, is to get everything like sorted and know where it all is and put it back in its place and then pack for New York tomorrow. So now I'm gonna go in with this liquid liner from Stila, and this is the Stay All Day Waterproof Liquid Eyeliner. I really like this because it's such a fine tip, and so it really just helps you line right along the lash line. Okay, so now that we have that line laid down, I wanna smudge it out with some black powder shadow that just kind of blends into that dark cranberry shade on the lid. So this is also from my palette, and this is just the blackest black in my opinion. It is one of those shades that you just need in a palette. Like when I find a palette that doesn't have a black, it kills me because it's got like this random vivid blue, and I'm like, oh, why didn't you just put a black? Like you're never gonna touch that blue. So I felt really, really strongly about my palette having a black. I think that was the first color that I knew for sure was gonna be in there. I'm just going in with this Bobbi Brown eyeliner brush. It's just called eyeliner. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of that on the brush, tap off the excess, and just smoke out along that line. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of that dark burgundy shade and just help blend the black into it on the outer corners. Okay, so now we can dust away our bake and work on the lower lash line. So I'm gonna take this Kat Von D number 25 brush. I just like this taper. It gets under the eyes super easily. And I'm just going to flick off all of that fallout. I don't know if you guys can see the shadow fallout. That's all going to dust away. Okay, so as you can see, there's no fallout. So when you're working with all those dark colors, it's a great way to protect the makeup that you've already applied if you do want to do your face makeup first, which I'm just so habituated in doing my face makeup first. I know a lot of people like to do their eye makeup first, which can solve that whole problem because then you can just go in with a makeup wipe and wipe away all of the fallout and eyeshadow that has fallen. And you can also clean up and create a sharp line. So that's another way to do it. I just prefer doing my face makeup first because I've always done it that way. I don't really have another reason, but I just like it. So it just totally is personal preference. But that's a way to protect your makeup if you do like to do your face makeup first. So now I'm gonna take this Sigma Flat Definer E15 brush and I'm just going to stamp that dark burgundy shade under my lash line. And then we're gonna smoke it out with some of the other shadows. Whenever I do this, the face I make is not cute and there's just no way around it. I have to make this face. Sorry guys. I've tried to look cute while doing it, but it's just like, I revert to it. It's just the best way for me to get under there is by making this ugly face. So now that we've got that sort of just roughly under, you don't have to worry about being neat with this because we are gonna go in and smoke it out. So don't worry about making this line perfect. You can have it be a little bit messy and rough. And then I'm gonna go in with that brush, that's blending E25 brush, that Sigma brush that we placed the dark shadow onto the lid. And I'm going to go in with that sort of magenta shade. And I'm just going to smudge that out a little bit. Okay, and then on my little MAC 217 brush that we used clean to help blend everything out, I'm going to blend everything out so that the outer V's meet. And then I'm going to take a tiny, tiny bit of this light baby pink shade. And I don't want a lot of this, just a bit. I'm gonna tap off the excess. And I'm just gonna go over all the edges of everything, and that's just gonna kind of create a halo around the eye look so that it all blends into the skin beautifully. Okay, and now I wanna highlight the brow bone. So I'm gonna go in with this sort of satin. I wouldn't say it's a super reflective metallic, it's just a really finely milled satin pale yellow gold shade. It's super flattering on pretty much any skin tone, and sometimes I just like that subtle satin highlight, that sheen that just kind of catches the light when you move, but that's nothing like bam in your face. So I'm just gonna take that on my finger and lightly work that into the brow bone. I'm also going to take that onto the inner corners of the eye. Okay, and now I'm going to line my upper and lower waterline with my favorite Marc Jacobs Eyeliner Gel Crayon, and this is in the shade Blacker. I just find that this stays really well. This is just my little travel size. I just find that this stays really, really well on my lash line throughout the day, and a lot of pencils disappear within like an hour, and this one really does a good job at staying. And I'm just gonna line my upper and lower waterline. Okay, so now I'm gonna apply falsies, and I'm gonna use the Lily lashes in the style Mykonos, and this is one of my favorite lash styles. I wore these on my wedding day. I love them. I think that they're just absolutely gorgeous, and they're nice and fluffy. They really suit my eye shape well. A lot of lashes that flare out too far are just too fluttered out, are just too cat eye for my eye shape, so I love these. I'll pop these on off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, so lashes are on. I love these lashes so much, and it's amazing how much lashes can just transform a look. It's kind of addicting now when I don't wear falsies, which is most days. I don't really wear them like on a normal day. I really miss them because they just had so much dimension to the eyes. But yeah, the brows are also done. I did do my brows in my last makeup tutorial. A lot of you guys were asking me to see them, and so I don't know if this is something you want to see in every single video. I pretty much do them the same every time, and to me it's a little bit boring and it does take up a lot of time, but if you feel strongly and want them in every video, let me know down below and I can do that. But yeah, go check out my last tutorial if you are curious. So let's go ahead and finish up the skin with blush, contour, bronzer, and highlight, and then we'll do the lip. So I think I'm just gonna go in with my golden translucent powder for my bronzer today. I've really been liking it. The tone is just perfect for me. It's this really beautiful, like warm golden shade, and I'm just really preferring it over most bronzers right now, so I'm gonna stick with it. So I just have some in my cap here, and I'm just dusting it off with my big fluffy powder brush. And I'm just gonna go ahead and bronze the perimeter of my face. Okay, and now I'm gonna go in with my contour, and for that, I'm gonna use my handy dandy Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. I just like this because of this shade particularly. This one is called Shadow Play. It's just a really nice contour shade for me because you can see that this one, Subconscious, is very cool, almost gray, and this one's Sombre is obviously way too dark, but this is the perfect balance of being warm enough so it doesn't look muddy on my skin. I'm so yellow and olive that a lot of the really gray cool tone contours can look super ashy on me, so I really, really love this shade. And I'm just gonna take this Hakuhodo B51 brush. You can see it's got this taper, and that angle just fits perfectly into the contours of the cheekbone. But I like to use this on days where I don't want a harsh or too severe of a contour because it's so fluffy and big. It kind of diffuses it versus being super concentrated like, you know, the NARS Ita brush or something with a super harsh edge. So I'm just gonna dip it into that Shadow Play, tap off the excess, and contour. And I like to pinch the brush and just kind of go along the sides of my nose and underneath it. Okay, so a brush like that just makes it really easy to contour in a natural way. So I highly recommend something of this shape if you're newer to contouring or you're somebody that doesn't like a very severe contour. This just really helps diffuse it without having to blend too much. So for the cheeks, I'm gonna go in with this Coral Spectrum palette by Zoeva. And this just has 4 shades of blush here. And I like them because they're still coral, so they have that warmth to them and a little bit of that orange, but they're still really pink. And I didn't want to go with a cool tone berry pink blush just because I want to add some warmth into the skin since we've got these cool berry tones on the eyes. But I do want them to tie in together, so the pink in these blushes will really be a great balance between a cool and warm shade to tie in the eye look with the rest of the face. So I'm gonna go in with this Bobbi Brown blush brush. I've had this since high school. I got this at Saks Fifth Avenue at Biltmore Fashion Park in Phoenix. It was super expensive, and I remember my mom was really into Bobbi Brown makeup, and when I convinced her to let me get this, I was in love with it. It was like the nicest brush I'd ever had, and I still have it to this day. It has been beat up. I've had to glue this thing back on, but it is still one of my favorite it is still one of my favorite blush brush shapes of all time. So I'm gonna go in with this light pink shade here, tap off the excess, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply that to the cheeks. And I like to do it sort of in the higher region of the cheekbone versus the center of the cheek. I feel like this just sort of brings my face in and doesn't elongate, where this sort of helps tighten everything, like gives this optical illusion that things are lifted. So I like to start back here and then dust the excess onto the apples. And I'm a blush kind of girl. I know a lot of people don't like to wear blush. For me, I need it, and I feel like my skin eats it. So if it looks like I put on a lot at first, it's because I do. And in an hour, it will like not be there. It's the weirdest thing, but I have to apply a lot of blush. And it seems to be like one of the first things that disappears on my skin. Let me know if you have that issue. I don't know like why that happens to me. Sometimes my bronzer will be intact and everything, but my blush just fades. Doesn't matter what blush I use, it's like my skin eats it, or somehow like it neutralizes and doesn't look as bright on me as it did when I left the house. Maybe my skin tone just balances it. I don't know, but it's the weirdest thing. So I do apply a lot of blush in the beginning just so that it stays with me throughout the day. So don't judge me. Okay, so now let's highlight. And I'm gonna take this Sephora Pro Fan Shadow Brush. I mentioned this in my favorites, but I've just been loving this to highlight. I just find that it gets into all the areas I like to highlight perfectly. And I think that this is supposed to be an eyeshadow brush, but this is a great example of using brushes the way that works best for you. So we all have different face shapes. We all do our makeup differently. We all have different needs when we do our makeup. Some of us like to apply things a certain way. And so in order to do that, sometimes it takes a certain brush. And so just, you know, using a brush that's labeled for a specific use doesn't mean that you have to use it that way. So I definitely love this brush for that purpose. And I'm gonna go ahead and use the Natasha Denona Glow Powder. And this is called the All Over Glow Face and Body Shimmer Powder in shade 01 Light. So a pink toned highlight would be beautiful with this look, but I don't like pink tone highlights on my skin. I'm so yellow undertone and so olive that they tend to look very icy and somewhat gray on me. So this is a really beautiful pale shade that's not too gold. So I feel like it won't compete with the pink tones that we have going on the eyes, but it will just sort of give that lit from within look. And this is not an overly like metallic highlight, which I really like. Sometimes I want a super reflective highlight, but sometimes I want those more subtle ones that melt into the skin and kind of have that lit from within look that's not so obviously highlighted. Okay, and now I'm going to go back in with my blush brush. I'm not taking any additional product, but I always just like to sort of melt the highlight and blend it into the blush so that there's no harsh lines. That should be the motto of my life, no harsh lines. That's like the bane of my existence, is when you can see unblended makeup and you just want to go and like smooth out the lines, especially like when I do it to myself and then I look in the car mirror throughout the day and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't blend this. It just drives me crazy. So now we will do the lip. So for this lip, you could go with a nude lip if you wanted something more subtle to just let the eyes really do the talking. This is a bold look, so if you think that it's too much on you, you could definitely do a nude lip. Because I'm just gonna come in fast and furious back with these bold fall makeup looks and I'm so excited about it, I'm just gonna go with a dark color today and kind of do this monochromatic situation where I have a deep cranberry vampy tone on the lips and the eyes. So I was struggling to find a lip liner. I have no idea what happened to my Dark Bite Beauty pencil. I must have lost it. I've had a lot of lip liners fall out of my bag, and for some reason lip liner is like the one thing I lose the easiest. So I don't use a ton of NARS products anymore, if at all, because they are no longer cruelty free, but I did have this pencil that I had way before they were not cruelty free. And this is called Marnie. And this is not super dark, but it does have that mauvey, purpley undertone that will be perfect with the liquid lipstick we're gonna go in with. So I'm gonna line my lips with Marnie. And I find it very important to line your lips when you're doing a dark color, even if it's with a nude liner, just to give some sort of barrier and guide, because dark colors can be really difficult to apply without a liner. And if you don't have that guideline, it's sort of like when you're a kid and coloring within the lines, you know? It's just really helpful to have that. So yeah, and I know I look a little crazy right now, but I would wear this look. This was my high school jam. Like, I would do this with clear gloss and I loved it. I thought it was the best look ever. So it's just so funny seeing myself like this, because now I'm like, oh God, but back then I would have actually thought that this was a great look. So I'm gonna go in with Dane, and Dane is a super rich kind of eggplanty color, and I really like using liquid lipsticks when I'm doing a dark color versus a traditional lipstick, because they tend to move around a lot throughout the day, and it's one of those colors that you just don't want to get all over your face. So I like the way that liquid lipsticks are long wearing and they kind of hold on and they don't shift and move around when you're eating and drinking. And they kind of just fade off versus like going out onto the perimeter of your lip, or sort of like bleeding out when you eat or drink and kind of coming out of your lip line. So I always prefer using a liquid lipstick when I'm doing deep, bold colors. So I'm just going to carefully apply that all in the center of my lips. Okay, so this is obviously a very, very vampy shade, and I love these colors for fall. I think it's such a great alternative to like a traditional red or kind of holiday berry. I think that they're super vampy and edgy and cool. And whenever I do a bold lip, I gravitate towards something like this, or a deep vampy red versus like a bright punchy red or like a super vibrant bold berry. I just love these deep tones, and I find that they're very fun and much more wearable than a lot of people realize. With blondes, sometimes I think red and pinks can feel a little bit clashy, but I find these deep vampy tones to go super beautifully. So I am just loving this, and I think it ties in with the eye look perfectly. So I'm going to go and fix my hair, and I will be right back with the completed look. Okay, so this is the completed look. I am loving these deep tones on the eyes and the lips. It's not often that I do both. A lot of times I'll keep the lip neutral and go for a smoky eye. So having dark tones on both really is a fun look, and it's kind of fed all my need to get back into the fall makeup looks. I'm living for it. So I think the Dane is gonna definitely be a go-to color for me this fall. I've been wearing Romeo a lot at night, but it's been a while since I busted out this deep kind of eggplant plummy color, and I just think it's so beautiful. So yeah, I have lots more fall looks coming for you guys, so I hope that you want to see some more. And my next video will be the big eyeshadow palette reveal. So all of the shades that I used on the eyes today were from the palette, but I have a lot more shades that I cannot wait to show you. And I will just give you the full breakdown, walk you through each row, tell you why each shade is in there, give you the story how the palette was created. It took me over a year, and just walk you through the whole thing. So I'm really excited for that. The palette should be coming out early November, and I will leave all the info down below in the description box. And if there's anything else that you guys want to see in terms of fall makeup looks specifically, leave that below as well. I'm definitely feeling inspired, and I'm super open to your feedback and suggestions of what you want to see. So let me know. If you recreate this look, don't forget to tag me so that I can check it out and interact with you on socials. And I'm hoping to be on a much more normal filming schedule coming up in November and sort of the end of October. I do have 2 speaking things coming up. One is in LA and one is in New York. I always add those dates and all the information on my social channels, specifically Instagram, just so that if any of you guys do live in those areas and want to come and say hi, I would love to see you. So check there for all the info. And my birthday's coming up October 23rd, so I will be doing some family stuff and friend stuff for that. But I'm thinking about even starting vlogging, so let me know what you guys would think. I have not ever vlogged before, and a lot of my day tends to be pretty boring because I'm just like in meetings and doing work stuff. So it's not the most exciting, like I'm running from event to event with lots of cool things to show you. But I could see myself getting into it, or maybe just doing like OOTD videos showing you what I wore in a week. I'm really open, so let me know like if you guys are interested in any sort of like lifestyle videos or vlogging in addition to these makeup videos here on my channel. So thank you for being here. I hope that you're having a great day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.